You can block them, you can delete their last thread, you can mute all their stories, but if you're still thinking about what you'd say to them if they were in front of you, or if you're still imagining what they're doing, or you're still having full conversations with them in your head, then you're not in no contact. You're just in imaginary contact. You're in constant conversation with that version of them that still lives rent-free in your mind. And real no contact, it doesn't just mean cutting them off out there. It means cutting them off in here.
Wait, did you subscribe yet? I have a lot more to share and I'd love to have you here for it. It really helps my channel grow and I appreciate it so much.
When most of us say I'm going no contact, what we mean is the most visible and superficial part of no contact, which is no more texting, no more calls, no checking up on them on social media. We block their number, we delete all of our old photos together, and we swear off the relationship definitively. And yes, all of that does matter. It's the first step we need to take. But when we find ourselves still stuck months or years later, thinking and ruminating about the same person, and we don't understand why, it's because we don't realize that this part of no contact is just the beginning. It's the visible surface level stuff, because no contact goes beyond deleting all the evidence we've collected of them in our lives. No contact is a boundary. And it only really works when that boundary gets applied to your own mind, not just your phone. And that's where most of us get stuck. We stop talking to the person, but we never stop talking to them in our own minds. And that's the version of them that ends up causing us the most damage and pain. Because that's the version that's keeping us emotionally stuck in place. Unable to let them go, unable to move on and date somebody else, just trapped. Here's where we can get to the real part of no contact. The problem isn't just the real person. The problem is that even though the person is gone from your life and you've stopped all communication with them, a version of them is still showing up every day, and it's that version that lives in your own head. Psychologists call this an internal object, but don't let the name throw you off. All internal object means is the mental and emotional version of a person that we carry inside our own mind. It's like a copy of the person that we hold on to that we then use to interact with this person inside of ourselves, even when the person is not there. And we do this all the time without realizing it. Not just with our exes, but with all kinds of people in our lives. We rehearse conversations. We imagine what the other person would say if they saw us now. We have arguments with people we didn't like at the grocery store 3 weeks after it happens. We defend ourselves from people in our own minds, and we rework fights and try to get the last word even weeks or months later. But we're not doing this with the actual person. We're doing it with their internal version, like a funhouse mirror image of this person. It kind of looks like them, it kind of sounds like them, but it's distorted at the same time because it reflects our own fears, it reflects our own pain, our own longing, our own need for closure. So it's a version of them that only exists to keep the story in our own minds going. But it's powerful enough to keep us hooked to this person. And sometimes this internal object of people, it can feel even more real because it's always with us. We can carry it wherever we go, especially when we're ruminating or we're obsessively thinking about them after a relationship has ended. And this version, it can feel more real because we get to control the dialogue. We can attempt to fix things that went wrong. We can finally make this person understand our point of view, the one that they never understood in real life. We can get endings that were never available to us when we were actually at war with them in real life. But the catch is that that internal object of your ex is what keeps you tethered to them. So even if you've cut off every form of external contact, you're still in a mental relationship with this person. You have a private, special place in your own mind that is essentially reserved just for them. And in that space, they show up 3 times a day, 84 times a day, 427 times a day. And until you extinguish that space in your mind, you haven't really gone no contact. And in fact, going no contact while still interacting with this internal object, it can leave you feeling incredibly frustrated because technically you've done the thing. You've blocked them. You've cut them off. You've followed all the rules. But emotionally, you still feel just as entangled, just as irritated, just as hurt and reactive as when you were still talking to your ex, because you are still talking to them, just not out loud. You're in a chronic, ongoing contact with this internal version of the person. And that can make you feel like you're doing no contact wrong, even when you're following it perfectly on the outside. So then, knowing this, why do we let ourselves stay trapped in this last piece of heartbreak? Well, because we think that if we let go of this internal version of our ex, if we stop interacting with them in our minds, then we're erasing everything we had together, especially if we know that they've moved on, or if they were the one to cut us off, or if we know very well that they're not looking back or pining over the relationship the way we are. The internal dialogue becomes a kind of escape. It's a private place we can go to still feel some of the good things that we once got from the relationship. And when that's all we have left, letting it go feels almost like a second loss. And our reasons for doing this are varied. Sometimes we do it just because we miss them. And sometimes we do it because we're still holding on to hope that maybe they will come back one day. Maybe they'll realize that we should still be together and they'll want to give it another shot. But holding on to it in this way and replaying it over and over in our own minds, that's not what actually makes the other person come back, if they do come back. In the end, staying stuck in this place, it actually goes to work against us, and it works against any future potential that we might rekindle a relationship with this person. And I think it's worth saying here that hope feeds the human soul. Without hope, we shrink. We lose color. We become dim and tired and sad versions of ourselves. So, no, I'm not here to tell you to give up hope or when to give up hope. Only you can decide when you're ready to stop hoping for a certain outcome or for a person to come back. You get to do that on your own time. And if you're not ready yet, well, then that's okay too. But if you are ready and you know that it's time, then this video is here to help you actually get it done. Because you can't move forward while you're still living in a state of emotional limbo in this way. And you can't become a version of you that's healed and free and able to move on if you're still stuck in place trying to fix a version of a relationship that already ended. Even if a relationship were to rekindle, it wouldn't happen because you stayed trapped in this nowhere land of heartbreak limbo. That's not what would do it. So real no contact, it means more than just deleting their number from your phone. It means deleting the conversation that you keep having with this person in your head. So it means no more replaying anything, no more imaginary makeup scenes, no more arguments where you finally said the perfect thing that would save the relationship. No more checking their profile just to see if maybe there's some sort of hidden meaning behind their posts and they're really thinking about you. Real no contact means that you're no longer trying to rewrite anything that happened because you accept that it is definitively done and over. And I think that is a subtle piece of no contact, but it really matters. It's the hardest part. Real no contact also means that you absolutely refuse to feed the version of the relationship that didn't exactly exist in the first place. So that overlaid version of the relationship that was made up of things that you hoped would happen, but they never did, or things you hoped the other person could do or could be, but they never ended up being those things. It's the version where all the bad stuff between you magically works itself out, where you both finally show up as your best selves and you got everything right. You just have to let go of that version because that version was a fantasy. And that's the part of most relationships that we tend to dwell on and get stuck on the most after it ends. If you keep trying to maintain that version alive, as alluring as that is, you're not just missing this person, you're trapping yourself in a fantasy potential of what could have been with them. So yes, cutting them off does matter, but cutting off the mental rehearsal that you've probably gotten really, really used to, like an old comfortable shoe you've learned to live in, cutting that off is when the real freedom starts to seep into your life. So when people say no contact doesn't work, sometimes it's because they never actually go no contact, not internally. They stop texting, they stop calling, but they never stop that infernal mental loop that keeps going after a breakup. So they keep showing up to the relationship that already ended in their own head every day, many, many, many times a day. And that's what real no contact asks of you, not just to stop the interaction, but to stop feeding the story altogether, to accept that it's over, even if a part of you still wishes it didn't have to be. I know how difficult this part really is. So don't beat yourself up if you're having trouble getting there. But if this is where you find yourself stuck, then in the next video, I'm going to walk you through the real practical steps of going no contact physically with someone. And just as importantly, how to break contact with the version of them that is still living in your head, because those are two different things. And both of them matter, and they have to be put together if you're really serious about moving on. And if you're doing this kind of work right now, consider liking, subscribing, so we can keep going together. Until next time.